Before sunrise, they came for us. No explanation, only orders.
None of us knew where we were going, only that we had been chosen. When I saw the valley, I knew this was unlike anything I had ever built. This was not a construction site. It was an army being born from Earth. Every warrior began as nothing more than simple earth. Perfection was expected, even before a face existed.
Piece by piece. Another silent soldier stood before me.
No two faces looked exactly alike, just like the people who made them. Every detail mattered, because these soldiers were meant to serve forever. That was the moment I realized we were not making statues. We were creating an army that would outlive us all. A single rough edge could ruin weeks of careful work. Even the smallest hand had to feel alive. Every face carried its own quiet story. Hair alone could reveal a soldier's place within the army. Every rank demanded its own armor, and every armor told a different story. They stood perfectly still, yet somehow the workshop felt full of life. Perfection was never accidental. It was earned through patience. When one warrior was finished, another journey had only just begun. Knowledge survived because one pair of hands always taught another. Tomorrow, the fire would decide whether months of work would survive or disappear into dust.
The fire was our greatest ally and our greatest enemy.
Day and night, the kilns never truly rested. The first glimpse inside always stopped my heart. When the clay survived the fire, it almost felt alive. Not every soldier survived the fire. Failure was never the end, only the beginning of another attempt. One by one, the silent army emerged from the flames.
The workshop no longer looked like a place of clay. It looked like an army waiting for orders.
The fire had finished its work. Now it was time to give these warriors their true identity.
I thought the army was finished, but it had not yet found its colors.
The earth gave us clay. The mountains gave us color.
Before color came, patience.
The silent army slowly came alive with color. With every careful stroke, each face became its own person. No one today would recognize how brilliant these warriors once looked. Even the highest officers demanded perfection, though they would never command a living army. The horses would stand beside their riders, forever waiting for a journey that would never come. For the first time, I could finally see the Emperor's eternal army. They no longer looked like statues. They looked ready to march into eternity. The clay warriors would never fight, but their weapons were very real. Fire shaped the metal, just as it had shaped the clay. Every blade reflected months of patient craftsmanship. Each weapon was made for a warrior who would never grow old. Some of the Empire's greatest inventions could fit within the palm of a hand.
Excellent. Now for the next piece.
One arrow meant little. Thousands could change history. Nothing was left to chance. Every weapon already knew its place. At that moment, the warrior finally felt complete. The silence of the army was more powerful than any battle cry. Our work was almost finished, but the Emperor's eternal army had not yet taken its final position. For the first time, our silent army began its final march. Only then did I understand the true scale of what we had created. Every warrior had a place, just as every man in the Empire did. Even in silence, they looked ready to defend their emperor forever. The horses would never breathe, yet they seemed ready to run. The generals would command an army that existed only beyond this life. I had never seen so many soldiers, yet none of them would ever take a single step. Nothing was left to chance, not even the direction each warrior faced. Standing among them, I almost forgot they were made from clay. We had built an army unlike any the world had ever seen, and its greatest secret was still waiting beneath the earth. Something had changed, even before anyone spoke a word. The workshop kept moving, but our minds had already begun to wander. Rumors were dangerous, but silence was even more frightening. No one told us what had happened, only that our work must continue. Even the smallest task felt heavier than before.
We understood everything, without hearing every word.
The army remained unchanged, even though the man it was made for was gone. The Emperor's dream still demanded our hands. The sky itself seemed quieter than before. We had spent years creating an army for one man, and now only history knew what would happen next. For the first time, I saw the army exactly as the Emperor had imagined it. The last commander finally took his place. An entire army stood ready. Yet no battle would ever come. The sky above the soldiers slowly disappeared.
This would be the last time sunlight touched their faces.
Stone, timber, and earth slowly erased everything beneath our feet. The greatest army I would ever see had vanished into silence.
None of us knew if anyone would ever see our work again.
Beneath this ground, thousands of silent faces would wait for centuries.
I believed I was leaving the army forever, and perhaps the world would forget we had ever existed.
Years passed, and the world quietly moved on. Few remembered the thousands of hands that built the emperor's final army. Beneath those hills, an entire world slept in silence.
Dynasties came and went, but the earth kept its secret. More than 2,000 years passed, and no one knew what waited below. Then, one ordinary day, the silence finally ended. For the first time in over 2,000 years, our soldiers saw the light again. The world called it one of history's greatest discoveries, but to me, they were old friends.
Every fingerprint hidden within the clay belonged to someone whose name had been forgotten, including mine.
We believed no one would ever see what we had created. We were wrong. Our emperor became history,